paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, it's all right, refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the podcast that is very sad that the Big Dumper will not be in the World Series.
So, what are you doing?
Welcome into the show, everybody. It's DJ and I this week here on Brainstorm Brewery. And you're learning in real time, along with me, that DJ doesn't know who the Big Dumper is.
The Big Dumper is you after Buffalo Wild Wings.
You're on the right track, DJ. The Big Dumper is also known as Cal Raleigh, the soon-to-be...
Is this another person who you stole the ball from in high school and lawed over because you peaked?
I did not peak until a couple years after that, I'll have you know. But for the record, no, I did not play against Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh is the catcher for the Seattle Mariners. And his nickname, in addition to being an extremely good baseball player, his nickname is the Big Dumper. Because he takes big dumps. And it's very sad because his team in Game 7 of the ALCS lost with him on deck about to go up. We could have had the Big Dumper with the World Series on the line. Can't you just, like you're a kid, you imagine it. Bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, the Big Dumper to the plate.
The only cool thing that has ever happened in baseball in the past, 20 years, I think, is... I wrote to the Red Sox because we had to write to a baseball team in 5th grade. My 5th grade teacher was big on teaching how to write a letter, and you had to pick a baseball team because he was a big baseball fan. 80% of the class wrote to the Yankees, and they all got they all got sent back this automated, processed corporate jargon slop with a single pack of Pokemon cards, which the pack of Pokemon cards is cool. I'll give them that, but it was just very just blah blah, and I got back a handwritten note from a guy. I don't know who it was. Clearly not a player.
It was
or whatever.
Theo Epstein, and DJ just doesn't know what he has.
At least a handwritten note from a human being who worked at the PR for the company, and I also got a bunch of merch. I got a pennant or whatever. I wasn't a big Red Sox fan. I just picked Red Sox.
That's
because
cool.
My teacher was a fan of the Red Sox. I was like, whatever, I'll pick the Red Sox. But I got a bunch of merch. I got a pennant. I got a little not a glove, but a foam finger. That's what you call it. They sent me an actual box of stuff, and
good for them.
I was very, very morally superior to everyone who was a fan of the Yankees that day, and I believe that still to be true.
The person who packed that box was like, we're going to make ourselves a Red Sox fan for life here.
Oh,
and
they
little
failed
DJ,
too. If they had sent me Yu-Gi-Oh cards, we're talking here.
Little DJ on the other end is like, ha, they sent back more. Got these other kids.
Yeah.
Scheming against them in 5th grade.
He didn't understand his target customer was a psychopath, and that's on him for failing to understand that.
Reasonable, but you know what?
That's the only cool thing that's happened in baseball in the past 20 years. That was also the year... It was either that year or the year before that they broke the curse.
2004.
Yeah. So it was around that time. So they were probably living large.
I imagine so. Some people might say that Shohei Ohtani having the greatest game in the history of baseball last week was pretty cool. All right, you actually can appreciate this aura farming moment, DJ. He's obviously in baseball, most people do one thing, right? They're a pitcher or a hitter or whatever, right? Shohei Ohtani is the first player basically since Babe Ruth to do both. And he does both at a level higher than Babe Ruth did it. So the other night, he is pitching the game for the Dodgers. He strikes out 3 batters in a row to start the game off as a pitcher. He doesn't even walk to the dugout. He just walks to home plate, changes his equipment, and then immediately hits a home run to start the game off.
Okay, that's I'll give him that's the second coolest thing. That's
pretty cool. He then went on to strike out 10 batters, pitch 6 scoreless innings, hit 3 home runs, in a 3-for-3 performance at the plate. It is just essentially the best baseball game anyone has ever played. The man quite literally soloed the opposing team in Game 4 of the NLCS. So, all right, that's enough baseball talk.
Mid-diff, everyone.
Mid-diff. Yeah, that's enough baseball talk. That was fun, though. Anyway, I'd say, this is the show that we're into that. We warned you right at the intro. You had no idea that was coming. And then you did, so you can't blame anyone but yourself for listening. And if you are still listening, welcome into the show. It's just DJ and I this week, so we're going to have some fun talking about a lot of the things that Wizards announced this week because, by golly, there were some announcements, starting with Commander.
We're just going to roll right into it, not even any mention of anything else. I was in Houston this past weekend, and I had arguably a record number of people tell me the podcast is great, so that's cool.
Ooh,
Shohei's got... How many podcast fans told Shohei they liked his podcast last week? Probably 0, -5 even, maybe. So I'm struggling to see the coolness factor of this game compared to our records.
I have to say it is cool when people. I was on a plane on the way back from Atlanta, and someone shouted.
Yeah, that guy came up to me and told me about that.
Oh,
you talked about this last week.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And then he talked to me this past weekend, and I'm talking to him right now because I'm in his ear hole as he's listening to this. And he told me about this story that you already told me. So you're telling me this the 4th time. Not okay. Not okay.
Well, independent confirmation is what we call that. Speaking of where we're going and where we've been, I'm going to be gone next week. I'm going to be in the middle of an ocean with no cell service, no internet, possibly in the middle of a hurricane.
That's the best place to be.
Yeah, it started as a tropical
hurricane.
Yeah, everyone's all worried about it. They're all everyone's freaking out because my family's going on this cruise and it's in the Caribbean and there's a tropical depression that's turning into a tropical storm and they're trying to figure out if it's going to impact us and blah, blah, blah. What if we, instead of running away from the storm, what if you just go right to the middle of the storm and then just follow it around?
Yeah.
I don't understand why no one ever does that in a hurricane, man. Everyone's all like, oh, hurricane's so dangerous. What if you just got in the middle of the hurricane and walked around like you're playing Fall Guys? I play a lot of Fall Guys. You could do that.
Like you're playing Fall Guys.
Yeah, man. Stay in the spotlight. You just stay in the spotlight.
No one has touched since 2020 and the month of our good Lord, June or something.
You might be surprised, DJ. That game is pretty popular.
Is it a Zoomer thing? Are you just playing this in a room full of Gen Alpha kids?
It is my experience that I sometimes play it with friends in squads of 4, and it appears that we are playing against children because we never
turn on voice chat for a second and you get hit with the 6-7 dab and you just crumble into dust.
DJ, how long did it take for you to learn about 6-7?
I just learned about it this past weekend.
Okay. That's pretty slow.
Which means I'm allowed to make the joke.
That's pretty slow, man.
It's my number now, Corbin. It's my number.
Okay. Yeah, you were behind the BuzzFeed articles came out before you knew about it.
Right, which is why I'm safe. That makes me a millennial. I'm okay.
All right. My son told me about this one a few weeks ago, and he said it was incredibly annoying that everyone at school just shouts it. And I said, Ben, well, what's it from? What's blah, blah, blah? And he's like, I don't know. It's just this thing everyone yells.
I believe it's from a rap song.
Yeah, I looked it up after and blah, blah, blah. It's 6-7, so whatever. I got to say, as far as the memes go, a pretty inoffensive one. That could be so much worse.
Are you speaking from experience?
Well, what was the worst meme social trend of your generation? Do you think? I was part of the Uggs Booch generation of people. That was a thing. That was weird to me.
I was more Crocs era. And the slap bracelets and the little animal bracelets.
Slap bracelets, okay.
My generation invented cyberbullying, so I think
I that only works if we're counting ourselves as the same generation here, I think. But go on.
We're both millennials.
Okay, fair enough then. Yes, that is correct.
Yeah,
you're just like a baby millennial. You're actually probably right in the middle, and I'm probably slightly above middle because it's a 30-year thing or whatever. So.
That's not our fault that the boomers lumped all of us together.
Yeah, I guess. Anyway, 6-7 or something. 6-7 are the next things that are going to get added to the commander bracket.
Sure, we can. Yeah.
The commander bracket. That's what we're going to talk about here. It's time for some magic. Wizards, in their new role as our benevolent overlords of the commander format, put out a bracket update. Now, if you're like me, you see these graphics every few months and then never think about them again. But I can say that opening up the store I'm at is opened and brought in new players, and these things are actually pretty helpful for us to sort of talk about our decks. Like one of the people bought a precon and then spent several $100s updating it, and I was able to walk him through. Well, you've basically taken your deck from like a 2 to a almost a 4 here with all of this stuff. So it did seem somewhat helpful. So let's go over what Wizards has done. And this, I think, is, we'll put the graphic up on the screen here, and I'll just kind of hit the highlights of it here. But they have it still as a 5 bracket thing, bracket 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what they've added this time is really what differentiates between the different brackets. And I think this is sort of the big thing here that makes a difference. Like, they say,
I like this as a whole.
Yeah, me too.
The brackets have been around almost a year. I mean, a year and a month ago was the big Mana Crypt upheaval apocalypse, and then like it was roughly a month after that they announced this, something like that. So I believe we're like around a year in, and I remember us last year saying, this is a very good starting point. We expect them to iterate on it. This is one of the first larger iterations besides just like moving cards around, at least from a philosophy standpoint. And I think this is the step in the right direction that most everyone hoped for or wanted, in terms of more concrete definitions, in terms of just expectations when sitting down. I haven't really heard any feedback from players about the bracket system failing at what it is meant to do, and normally the people who are complaining about something failing are the loudest minority. So
yeah, that's an interesting way to sort of look at what people think about that. Yeah. So yeah, what they added this time is the difference is kind of thing. And they say the difference between bracket 1 and 2 is the theme. Bracket 1 is just supposed to be a theme over goal or power. Bracket 2 is supposed to be mechanically focused. Okay. The difference between bracket 2 and bracket 3 is staples. This is where you go from 0 game changers up to 3 game changers in your list. The difference between bracket 3 and bracket 4 is speed. That takes you from upgraded to optimized. You have no deck restrictions. This is where your combo decks aim to combo. The game usually goes at least 4 turns. You're not playing CDH, but you're playing competitive commander. And then, of course, the difference between bracket 4 and bracket 5 is the metagame. Like when you start to play literal CDH with people trying to combo kill you as early as turn 2 with backup or whatever if you can't stop them. That is the difference. So now they added some extra sort of, I guess, guidelines. I wouldn't say definitions, but one of the things they did is they really removed any callouts to tutors. They say that bracket 1 has no game changers, no mass land denial, no extra turns, no 2-card combos. Bracket 2, no game changers, no mass land denial, no chaining extra turn, no 2-card combos. Bracket 3, 0 to 3 game changers, but still no mass land denial, no extra turns, and no 2-card combos before turn 6. And in bracket 4, finally, you have no deck restrictions, and 5, and so on. So that is sort of the high level of this. The idea being that as you go from, of course, bracket 1 to bracket 5, you go from more casual to more competitive. Honestly, great infographic all around. Shout out to the entire Commander format committee, whatever we're calling this stuff these days, for putting this together, because I think it looks really good and is a great guide for players to get going.
Yeah, I think that the focus on the number of turns the games last is usually a very good litmus test.
Yeah.
Especially because anybody who is coming at this from a bad faith standpoint is already just losing at the door when it comes to like, oh, well, I have this Splinter Twin combo in my hand, then I could play it till turn 2, but if I wait till turn 8, is my deck still like a bracket 3? It's like, probably, yeah, man. Like, it's, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 3 is, of course, just like 7 was always the problem with the old one. 3 is always going to be the hardest bucket to sort of, define. But I do think if you just sort of ask most players... But I think that's
also just because of most players want to play in the 3 space.
Right. Yeah, so I was going to say, if you ask most players know if their deck is... like, and this is maybe... most people know if their bracket 3 deck is closer to a 2.5 or a 3.5, if that makes sense. Right? Like, I know which side of that line my decks sort of fall on.
I have a lot of people know that I am the silly... Gonti deck and the silly Factory Seal deck, and I think those are both very good examples of decks that fit into the 3 space correctly, because I mean the Factory Sealed Garth deck has a lot of very powerful cards in it. It can do some very, very ridiculously powerful things because you get to play Black Lotus and other very high power cards, but like the deck can't really ever win on turn 4. It can like do something very, very powerful on turn 6 by like play a 10-drop or something, but that's not explicitly Splinter Twin-esque. No mass land denial. It has a minimal number of game changers, no chain extra turns. I mean, it can do that with like Chain Veil and stuff.
Well, that was actually the one thing I was going to call out in here, is that the extra turns thing to me is such a red herring when it comes to Commander. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, but chaining extra turns should be synonymous with winning the game, and most of the time it is. So I think that telling people they can play 2-card combos, but not and again, this is their guidelines, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know, the idea that you can't copy an extra, you can't copy a Nexus of Fate on turn 9, or you're playing a bracket 4 deck instead of a bracket 3 deck doesn't necessarily jive to me, because like that means your deck was built to make it to turn 9. Like, I don't know. I like, for instance, I have a Keranos deck. It's blue-red. It ends up winning by chaining extra turns and burning people out on those turns, but it has never won a game before turn 10 or 15 or something. Like, it's not a bracket 4 deck. So anyway, just some interesting... of course, we can nitpick at sort of the various things, but overall, this is a big hit, I think.
Yeah, I mean, once you get into the is it spellcaster deck going off and just pulling out the little piece of paper that says F6, like... Yeah. I think everyone is in general agreement that it matters more the turn you're doing that on and not when, like...
Yes, that's exactly what you're doing it with. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is I think that people get upset by turns and in more than 2-card combos almost. And I think it's because they've had experiences of people not winning the game when they do those things.
And just the time investment and...
Yeah. Well, for me, it's like, it's usually like, okay, it's now turn... like 10. I'm going to cast Expropriate with Counterspell backup. That's probably going to be enough to win the game. People usually scoop, right? Like,
yeah.
But the idea that you can't play Expropriate, a card that is not a game changer, in your bracket 3 deck, I think that's sort of one of the weaknesses that when you start using words like no, X, like they have here, you sort of run into issues. But that's the only nitpick I can honestly find here.
Yeah, when you're looking for actually points, I think it's a pretty solid just structure to the concept.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So well done by them. We'll see how it works out. I have an interesting experience, CJ. I want to get your take on this. I'm at the store the other day. Somebody is putting together, they bought the Final Fantasy starters.
That's the Cloud, Red, White, Sephiroth, Blue, Black. Is that right?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. The I think they're 60 card meant to be played against each other. And we had people, they were asking about how can we make standard decks out of these? Followed shortly by, what is standard? I can buy this and play this in standard? And then I had the awkward of explaining to them, well, no, your Cloud deck that you have spent several $100s on in Commander over the past few weeks, no, that is not a standard deck. A standard deck is 60 cards. Your Commander cards are not going to go in it. Like, this is not, it's a whole different thing. So I just found myself literally explaining standard to people. But that said, they're into it and want to start playing with their Final Fantasy cards. So I told them, well, let's wait until the ban list announcement comes out next month. Then we'll have Avatar come out, and I think it'd be awesome to launch Standard up at the store. But I guess the point is I'm saying there are people who are basically brand new players coming into my store wanting to play Standard, or at least, having an interest in exploring formats outside of Commander.
Okay.
No, I just think it's sort of an example.
As if it was a question for me, and then
no. So I guess my take on you is it's like, is this an example of all of this? So my first thought on it was when Wizards moved all the universes beyond to Standard, this has to be what they're thinking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's
yes.
Sort
The
of what
goal is to unwrap a bunch of people to play Magic in its various forms. Of course, not everyone who gets into Magic is going to play competitive Standard, build a Standard Modern Legacy deck, but the more people you get to
expose
to the broad spectrum of Magic's offerings, the more people you will start to fall into little buckets. And I think that the number of people you can reach is so dense and so incredibly high with all these cross platforms, then you're going to have a lot of new people looking to play the competitive outlet from that. And I think that we're very much so in the on-ramp to that. Yes.
Yeah. And I want to just kind of like, this is what it looks like. Again, as someone who's gotten back into that, I've spent 40 hours a week at the LGS, probably the last 3 weeks working on stuff, right? So I've seen a lot of people come in and interface with a lot of customers. And sort of the takeaway from F&M last week, to me, was it has to have looked like almost exactly what Wizards of the Coast would want, at least close. There were new people in there playing Commander. One of them had never heard of a draft, but we also had a group in there doing a vintage cube, because somebody has made up the Magic Online Vintage Cube. So we had 8 people drafting, 1 or 2 of the new players looking in on it, following along, kind of just literally sitting there playing Commander with their Final Fantasy precons that they bought. And meanwhile, they're also getting exposed to people drafting right there. And it's just, and again, maybe this is, but the experience at the store is not that there is a group of people who are excited to play with Cloud and a group of people who are excited to play Vintage Cube. There's one group of store players excited to play Magic. And I think that has to be sort of what the moving forward F&M experience looks like, because we hear a lot of information about, well, drafts are failing to fire at stores, or we can't get Standard to fire. And it is not easy, but a lot of things I think are local community based. And sometimes if you have a group of established people saying, we don't want to do that, well, then that's just not what people do. So I think that anyway, there's just a lot of space inside of Magic for all of these different things to coexist. And it's pretty cool actually just watching it in action when there's good attitudes involved and you're not really exposed to some of the toxicity online. It's just been, I guess, really refreshing to see all of it play out and to see people come into the store because they saw Avatar or Ninja Turtles or whatever is just a very interesting experience from where we were 10, 15 years ago when it was only sort of the hardened gamer coming in.
Yeah. I mean, no arguments. Yeah.
Well, there we go. That's what's up with us. That's what's up with your Commander brackets. And now DJ's going to tell you what is up with the MTG Ban Network.
Hello. MTG Ban is the primary sponsor of this podcast. They are an incredible suite of pricing tools, of data analytics, of arbitrage networking, and vendors who talk to each other and share information that can benefit you if you are looking to turn this hobby into a little something that pays for itself or more than that. MTG Ban is a Patreon subscription. You go to mtgban.com and then go to the Patreon and then check out the different levels. There is a large amount of data you can get that depends on the amount of money you give them. And every tier has the ability to make you back the money you spent on it if you are willing to put in some amount of time. For example, we do Breaking Bulk and Pick of the Week every week. I use MTG Ban to find both of those tools in conjunction with my sorting machine, and you get a lot of good data, which you are about to hear from our Breaking Bulk segment.
Breaking Bulk time.
Breaking Bulk. That wasn't the song. You heard the real song, but then that was me with more of the song.
It can be the real song. We can auto-tune the out of that.
Oh, I'd prefer it not be.
Reverb it? I don't know what reverbing means, but we can maybe like dubstep it. I know what dubstep means.
Two-step?
We can skibbity toilet it. We can 67 it. We can...
It's not, DJ. You're two numbers off, man. Even I know that one.
What?
It's not 67, bro. It's 69.
No, like the new 6-7 one.
I don't know that sex position. All right, time for Breaking Bulk. I have a previously banned set for you, but this one is this is a good Breaking Bulk.
I don't know if we need to reference Lorwyn Block being previously banned, much in the kin that Magic's player base doesn't know that like Entomb or Palancron used to be banned. Like that is some boomer talk.
It is true.
This podcast has its own generation of boomers now.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Lorwyn Block, especially really like Shadowmoor, Eventide, used to be off limits for Breaking Bulk because it was just like everything in the set that was uncommon or above was worth 75 cents in 2013 or whatever, when 75 cents was enough to buy you multiple pieces of bubble gum. Anyway, Shadowmoor is back because of Lorwyn coming back and because of some announcements this week. This class of cards is spiking, and this one was already climbing. And now it is possibly the most expensive modern day common in Magic history? Question mark? Like at this current point in time.
Very macabre?
Nope, but it is a multicolored Shadowmoor common with a $10 market price.
Ooh. Helm of the Gas Lord.
Yes. This started good job, DJ. This started spiking.
Good at the video game.
Yeah, that was well done. This actually started spiking back with like Tarkir Dragonstorm. I don't remember the first thing that made it spike, but what's crazy is after it did that, where it spiked from, bulk up to several dollars, it actually just kind of has kept going since then. And now, we didn't touch on this, but we will now. The Commander Brackets update also came with this discussion of hybrid mana. They asked people a few questions on the stream. They asked people, one, do you want us to ban Rhystic Study? Which I thought was interesting. I don't know if that would go over well, given the last time they banned Mega Staples. But they then asked, how do you feel about hybrid mana? And they said they thought about changing it. So, for instance, Helm of the Gas Lord, which is a 3 generic and then 1 blue or black hybrid mana card. That card is blue and black for the purposes of color identity and commander. It is not blue or black, it is blue and black, meaning you can only play it in a deck with both of those colors. They're discussing making the change such that hybrid mana would change this card's color identity to be blue or black, meaning you could play it in a mono blue deck. You could play it in a mono black deck. You could play it in a Simic deck. This is the hybrid mana discussion going on right now. And I don't know what that means, but that's all of it has caused Helm of the Gas Lord to continue climbing, and it's $10.
I think it's a really good discussion to have. I don't actually stand on any particular side of it, and for more detail, the main talking point that a lot of people have on either side of this is they don't want colors to have access to things that they shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Air quotes shouldn't, I guess. Like Helm of the Gas Lord is a blue-black aura enchant creature. If enchanted creature is blue, it gets +1/+1 and dealing damage, draws a card. If it's black, it gets +1/+1 and deals damage, opponent discards a card. So you could theoretically give a mono blue deck a bunch of discard effects that it wouldn't normally have. Phyrexian mana has been brought up a lot of, this means you could play Dismember in a mono blue deck because you technically only use colorless to cast it, or you could play Beseech the Queen, which is the card that they brought up on the stream, in a mono green deck to use it as just a 6 mana generic colorless tutor to search for things, and then you can start getting into Urborg, where Urborg lets you make swamps, and then you can use the black to cast it, and there's a lot of commander cards that say, make mana of any color, so like it's
Chromatic Lantern.
Kind of it's a rabbit hole.
There's a lot of secondary effects.
And I don't know where I stand on this, because I do think it should be intuitive for a new player to look at this card and want to put it in a mono blue deck. I think that has been the standard expectation of a new player when they learn Commander of, this card can be cast for a blue mana, therefore I should be able to play it in my mono blue deck, with like Reese the Redeemed. Deathrite Shaman being, and then like Deathrite Shaman gets weird because then it's
Deathrite Shaman's not
cost. Like
Deathrite Shaman's not Deathrite Shaman's not.
No, I know
affected.
It's different.
Yeah, because of
That's
the
what
mana
I'm saying.
symbols.
It's like it gets different because its activation abilities have different mana costs.
Right,
Like, I'm saying that it's different, but like I don't know if the player expectation is that card would be treated differently. Like, wouldn't a standard new player be like, oh, why can't I play Deathrite Shaman in my deck and just only use the green ability? Or if I can make black, I should be able to use it with my mono green, like be with an Urborg. Like it. I don't know if there is a clean way to resolve this that is cleaner than what is already in effect. I think I'm leaning towards, as I talk through this, the current rule set just being cleaner, even if it is less intuitive, because the alternative gets very messy. But I also don't know if that is just me thinking change is bad. I don't know.
It's tough. It is honestly, it's a almost perfect discourse point, because there are lots of good points on both sides. I don't know what matters. I couldn't even tell you how a new player interacts with this, because I don't know. To me, if you look at Helm of the Gas Lord, like half of the card is physically black, right? It feels like a black card to me in that way, just like it feels like a blue card to me. So I don't think that I would, like, my thought is that I wouldn't assume you could play it in those things. But that said, I also don't know that matters, because it kind of feels like maybe the Planeswalker rule or whatever, where you used to only be able to have one Planeswalker with the type line Elspeth in play or whatever. And people were playing Jace Balerons to preempt their opponent's Jace the Mind Sculptors and things like this. Like, that was all weird. And then they just got rid of the rules that made it sort of quirky, and it just became better. So like maybe this is the same thing. We're just like sort of removing the restriction and giving people a little more freedom, even if it is maybe a little more messy and just in terms of how it looks or whatever, a little more incongruent. Like maybe it's just better for the play experience.
Player cast Beseech the Queen feels wrong.
Does it?
I think so.
Because I think in reality
that card is just black.
Right. No, so I agree.
You said, visually, the card is just black.
I agree. So, but like what, in my mind, what happens is the rule change gets made. Maybe some people do it at the beginning because they can do it, and then you never encounter it in your life because you don't need to pay 6 generic mana for a Beseech the Queen in your mono green deck. And it just becomes this like 1 in a million thing where it just kind of doesn't matter. Right. And it improves the gameplay experience on the whole, in exchange for having some weirdness that just doesn't really come up that often. Like, it almost feels like that's like that rule of like the idea of like, well, we can't play a Beseech the Queen for 6 colorless in my mono green deck because it has some black stuff. Like, it almost feels that's like a relic of playing this game when we were playing Elder Dragon themed.
Maybe,
it
might be.
Yeah,
but I don't know, Dismember, all of this just, it does feel weird, but like I said at the start, I don't know if that's because I think change is bad.
Phyrexian mana is not affected, from what I understand. So
right, but like I think that why not is the question.
That's a good question. It's a good question, DJ. Yeah, to be honest. And again, it's another small class of cards, but you're right. Like, what would it mean to let everyone put Dismember into any deck? Because that card is good in a lot of ways, right? So
and when they remade Phyrexian Mana, they intentionally did so such that you couldn't play Dismember, the new Dismember, air quotes, in a mono white deck. Like, we have Tamio, we have other cards that use Phyrexian Mana that use Phyrexian Mana as an additive requirement to mandatory colored mana costs.
Yeah, and the other argument too, and this is
there's that one I know, I don't know the name of the card, but there's like some Tarkir Dragonstorm cards that are teamer colored, that are flavored so that you could play like red, green, blue, or 6 colorless, like 2 blue, or 1 blue or 2 colorless, 1 red or 2 colorless. Like, playing that card in a mono white deck feels insane. Like, I don't know, like all of these just feels like a very, very messy string that would need to get unraveled.
You're right.
It feels way more complicated than the Planeswalker rule, which feels very intuitive.
You're probably right. And also,
all of this is vibes. All of this is just vibes.
Right. And at the same time, Commander has such a problem with, staple ubiquity or whatever you want to call it already, that I don't think adding some generically good cards like, say, Dismember to be able to go into any deck is going to help with that either, right? Like, a big part of Commander's appeal is about things being different and not being able to put Dismember into every single deck that you play, so that you always have a 1 mana answer to someone trying to combo off with creatures or whatever. So yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Well, that's a discussion they wanted to have. I feel like we had it.
Right, like Dismember shouldn't be Soul Ring number 2. And I know that not everyone would play it that way. I understand that it's not exactly Dismember or Soul Ring number 2, but like, I don't know. Argue with each other in the comments for my entertainment.
All right, speaking of entertainment, here's another announcement they made. And this is, I think,
is the announcement you're going to make going to be DJ is going to do his breaking bulk now? Because if not,
oh yeah, that one. Why don't you go and do that one, DJ? Let's do that one. Well,
great.
This is a little extended breaking bulk this week. Go ahead.
I have a colorless land from the list that is, and I will say that it comes in mystery boosters of all varieties. And I don't know. It's common. It's a colorless common land.
Wirewood Lodge.
This card can be put into any commander deck, unlike Wirewood Lodge, which may or may not be faded for colorless decks in the future.
Bonder's Enclave.
This is a land. It's a common land. Bonder's Enclave is a rare, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Terramorphic Expanse Evolving Wilds. Ash Barrens.
Evolving Wilds, you did it.
There we go.
The scattershot naming approach worked.
I've been looking at a lot of precons over the past week, precon commander decks, and seeing how they've actually done a good job updating the mana bases in them. But I've seen some pretty interesting, unique arts on Evolving Wilds and stuff. So I had an idea. Go ahead.
This card is not worth money because of its art. It is the same artwork from like Battle for Zendikar or something.
Okay.
It is the list version of this card from Mr. Booster 1, and I want you to guess what the market price is of this Evolving Wilds.
$1.92.
You're a full $1 off. It is $3.01.
Oh, wow.
This Evolving Wilds at TCG low is $1.76 on MTG Band, $3 market price. It doesn't really have BioWare support, like Card Kingdom will pay you 4 cents, but you should not send them to Card Kingdom because this card has active, consistent TCG player sales data, which is crazy. Those of you who are longtime listeners of the podcast probably know where I am going with this. I have talked about the slip through space phenomenon, which is a Oath of the Gatewatch common that just makes a creature unblockable and draws a card for 1 mana. And that card is TCG low like 20 cents, but the list version of that, which only comes in the Heads I Win, Tails You Lose deck, that is a full sentence, is like $30 for this one single common that sometimes auto-fills to your TCG player cart if you are exporting deck lists or whatever from Mana Box or Moxfield or something. If you click a button that says, I want to buy this whole deck on TCG Player, TCG Player's algorithm and cart optimizer in gigantic quotation marks that are 6 feet tall, will sometimes autofill you the version of this Evolving Wilds or that Slip Through Space that are more expensive because of the way that data system fills to TCG Player, which means those cards run out of supply, which means vendors need to restock them, which means vendors will charge more when they see it sold out. And it is just this feedback loop that will make the card more expensive over time, even if there is like not a otherwise real reason for it. It is just supply and demand at its most core tenet of, some machine picks this one, which means it sells out more, which means it sells out more, which means it sells out more, which means sellers need to pay more on them and list them. Like, I'm looking at the TCG Player sales data right now, like 12 copies of this Evolving Wilds have been sold for between $1.50 and $3 in the past week. It's just an Evolving Wilds, guys. It's a regular one. It's the plain white bread with water of Evolving Wilds. It's not a secret lair. It's not a foil. It's not an extended art. It's not a Borderland. It's just got a little Planeswalker stamp in the corner, and it's expensive because of this feedback loop, which means that when you are going through your bulk, if you remember this conversation, trigger word for the sleeper agents is trading cards. That'll be my sleeper word. There we go.
That one will never accidentally get said.
No, that's a safe one, and a safe word, if you might say. If you know what that is.
You might.
So if you remember this and you're going through Mr. Booster 1 or 2 bulk, pull out your Evolving Wilds that have this symbol on them. Specifically, I guess, the ones with the Commander 2018 set symbol, if they do another one of these, and you're listening to this podcast 4 years from now, that one is $3, and you should remember that. And this was worth breaking bulk.
All right. Well, I've got a follow-up from that, DJ. This genius or grifter here. I have a question for you. Imagine you are a content creator of some kind who likes to, say, make Commander deck lists and put on YouTube with an affiliate link to TCG Player. How is it genius or is it grifter to put the expensive Evolving Wilds into the cart to increase your kickback?
Why can't it be both?
Oh, it's genius and grifting.
A lot of grifting is just evil geniusing.
That is true. That's fair.
And a lot of grifting is also just like evil opportunisting of like, you don't have to be a genius, but like be the first person to sell the pickaxe. That's fine.
Or just be the person willing to sell the faulty pickaxe in this analogy.
Is it faulty though?
Well, I'm not.
It's an Evolving Wilds. It does the job.
I think the idea is if someone is grifting, right, then they are selling a faulty pickaxe as opposed to an actual helpful thing. But anyway, maybe we've strangled this analogy a little too deeply here. Anyway, just something I thought about when you were saying that, because I actually did have an experience last week of telling somebody about, okay, well, you should get these cards on TCG Player that you're looking for. They're just commons and uncommons. They're not really very expensive, but like you're not going to find these, right? Like it's just going to wait a while. You may as well just spend your money on TCG Player and get them. But I did warn them about using the card optimizer and how it is not always so optimized. So that's also a way that some of this may end up happening because people are on direct with those sort of things. I don't know. I don't know enough about the system. But I do think that sometimes the card optimizer can end up opting people into choices that they wouldn't expect.
I think as a whole, and this is an entirely separate tangent, the player base needs to accept cards costing at least 50 cents across the board a piece.
My line at the store has been if the card is worth below $2, like I'm happy to help, but like this is just bulk. Like the Magic World in 2025, you cannot grind. You're not trying to grind out $1.50 sales at an LGI. Like that's just not. Things get reprinted in precons. They're worth nothing. Like you either have good stuff or you have like you're gonna have to pay 50 cents for the common, but it's not worth my time otherwise to try to do anything with it. So yes. I think that's reasonable. Like unless you're operating at a massive scale,
I think they should expect to pay 50 cents a card online and then $1 per card minimum most of the time, unless it's like a browse bin or whatever. But like 50-cent browse bin, etc.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with my stuff. Is usually like 50 cents or three for a dollar or whatever. Yeah. But it's the lowest effort thing. It's the last priority, right? Once I've got it's just kind of like that's sort of how it works these days. So, okay, well, let's talk about the other big Magic announcement here before we get on to our picks of the week. But Wizards announced the Limited Pro Tour. And I don't know, I want to get the right words here because they didn't use the word Pro Tour. They used the word 2027 Magic Limited Championship. The upcoming Magic Limited Championship is a special tournament that puts the focus on Limited, supported by events across the world that will let the best Limited players qualify. The Magic Limited Championship will take place in 2027 with qualifying events held in 2026. This is a new and exciting initiative, but for now we're just announcing the event and its qualifying path. It is not a new series. It is so far, a one-off, right? But it's a one-off with a prize pool that is such that people are comparing it to a Pro Tour. The path to qualify for it encompasses the regional championships, the spotlights, online play. There's a lot going on. And whether I hope that it has an extremely successful rollout for many reasons, right? Obviously, I love more competitive Magic, but I also love the idea that, look, Huey Jensen said this was something that was near and dear to his heart. For all the people out there who go, it's all slop now, it's all Commander now, it's all Universes Beyond now, they just don't care. Well, they've been working in the background on this, and now it's been announced. And if you like competitive Magic, if you want limited Magic to be a thing that exists, like long term, as an outlet for competitive play, you probably want to be a part of this, right? Like we went through this whole play booster, draft booster, set booster thing, and we're in this pick 2 draft world now. Like, limited is not something that you should take for granted as always going to exist, never going away. And that's what we've learned from the past 5 years.
For sure. I think one of the unspoken things that Magic takes over its largest competitors is sealed and draft viability, because that is not something you get with Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon. Like, those sets are not designed to be played like that at any sort of highly competitive level. Like, Magic sets limited sets have so much more thought and process and effort put towards them when it comes to being a isolated product that is played on its own against itself. And like, go to any Yu-Gi-Oh sneak peek, it's a nightmare. Like, you can't play the cool big bad fusion monster you open because, like, oops, you didn't open the other 2 cards that make it. Like, that's just always been a thing for a very long time. And I think you're right, Magic does take that for granted to some extent, and it would be great if people started showing up for this, even though, I mean, limited events in the past from a vendor standpoint have always been a bloodbath, which is unfortunate. Like, that you as the player make the argument of like, oh, well, people open up all of their cards to sell to you. How awesome is that? And it's like, the numbers do not work on that. That's just a lot of limited, not a lot of great stuff. Yeah, you can't really buy the remnants of a lot of sealed products to make up the cost of a $10,000 booth and then $2,000 labor per staff member, etc. But like, I would love to see it work is I guess what I am putting out into the world. I think
and look at it this way, for all the people, like, and I don't want to be tongue in cheek or like vindictive about it, but every single day we get online and see people say that Wizards doesn't care about competitive play. They're killing the competitive game. They don't want any of this. It's all Commander slop, blah, blah, blah. I cannot think of anything less popular for the metrics that people saying Wizards cares about than limited. It's not good. It's not as good as constructed for viewing. It's not good for really like pushing like meta games or anything like that. It's just for people who like limited. And that's a lot of competitive Magic players. And they made this event for them. And it is my opinion, and I could be wrong here, that maybe if we don't have Universes Beyond lining the coffers, so to speak, they don't sign off on this giant expense to try out a limited event in 2027. I just want to put that out there, guys. Like, I just want to have that on the record as said that, like, I lived in a time where they took a Pro Tour off of the schedule. We went from like 4 Pro Tours and Worlds a year to 3 Pro Tours and Worlds a year. Around the time that I started Magic, the cadence changed. Like, things, you should not take them for granted. And so adding events, adding spotlights, adding a limited championship, that's all huge.
And yeah, I mean, it is, or at least it should be, a marketing expense, but that money has to come from somewhere, and that somewhere, whether players like it or not, is Final Fantasy collector booster packs.
Right. And like, this is a limited championship is probably not the most corporate suit friendly way of spending marketing dollars. Okay. It is, however, really appealing to, hear me out here, people who love to play Magic. And I just want people to understand that this did not come, like, it is my opinion that the Magic 2027 Magic Limited Championship that's near and dear to Huey Jensen's heart did not come from a desire to maximize number go up for suits. it came from a desire for people to play limited at a competitive level because people love that. So I think that's probably the only thing I really want to get across there. And now, before we get out of here, as always, let's give you some picks of the week.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
DJ, what are you looking at?
I have a pick of the week that has been, I will say, sneakily avoiding reprints for the past few years because it's a very hard card to reprint. Its most recent time in the spotlight was Innistrad Remastered. It is Bloodline Keeper. Bloodline Keeper is down to like $3-ish for the retro version, and Card Kingdom is paying $4 for the retro version. And if you look at that graph on MTG Ban, if you look at CK retail, CK is selling the card for $8, and you can buy it on TCG for like $3 to $4. Bloodline Keeper has only been reprinted a few times, the first of which is From the Vault Flippies, also known as From the Vault Two-Face, also known as From the Vault Double-Faced Cards, also known as From the Vault Transform. And then it was in a double-faced exclusive commander deck called Cute to Brute, where you got just a bunch of double-faced cards, and they were like, well, this is where we can put them. And then you got Innistrad Remastered, which of course had to have double-faced cards because that is where those came from. Innistrad was the debut set for those. So Bloodline Keeper, kind of annoying to reprint from a structural standpoint. Wizards has to like have its own double-faced sheet. It's a whole thing. They tend to selectively choose where these cards get reprinted. Bloodline Keeper has historically been a $20 card. The card is just very, very, very popular for its kindred type of vampires. Vampires, very, very popular type. It's been a few years since we've hit Innistrad Remastered, so like Edgar Markov is like also slowly fading off. I believe I or somebody else picked that card recently because it just has bottomed out. And Bloodline Keeper is in the same vein, pardon the pun.
No, it's a good pick. All right, I will follow that up with another black card. This is all graph based, right? This card has no reprints. I'm not sure what's moving the price, but I do know that the price has been creeping up for a year and is now starting to like really look like it's about to take off. And that card is Tainted Remedy at $5 to $6. Magic Origins rare. When an opponent would gain life, they lose that much life instead. Again, don't know if there's anything in particular driving this, but it is driving because it's a $10, an $11 foil. It's a $5 to $6 card right now, but it's starting to climb even more. So I think that we'll probably see Tainted Remedy push on up to $10.
Yeah, I mean, data speaks for itself. This is a $9 card on Direct. TCG low is $4. Card Kingdom pays $4.70 before the trade-in bonus, etc. And cards like this don't get printed very often. Historically, the only other one is False Cure, which is an instant and only works in one turn. I guess Reign of Gore also exists, but this is the only mono black.
Reign of Gore, forgot about that one. I love that one.
Sure, but like the fact that it's forgettable shows you how rarely this effect happens. And I don't disagree. It's one that could definitely get a Secret Lair reprint, but that doesn't historically matter a ton for prices unless it's like a very, very expensive card getting just a very, very large increase in supply. I don't hate this. I don't hate picking up these when you can at $4 to $5. It's weird. I'm remembering now how we used to say like, oh, this is a breaking bulk buy or a breaking bulk trade. You don't really do trades anymore. That's not a thing. But yeah, I can definitely see stockpiling up on these and putting them in a box somewhere and waiting for them to hit $10. And then when they hit 10, CK will probably be paying $10 or $11 and selling them at $15. So it's nice to have a cleaner out nowadays, or you can just list them on TCG and net those yummy multi-card orders. But
yeah, and it's starting to and it's just starting to climb, right? So if you're able to get any there still, I think you probably have a little bit of time to get ahead of this one, especially if you go to patreon.com/BSB, because that means you're listening to this podcast early. That also means you have access to our spreadsheets where DJ and I wrote these picks down as soon as we made them. So we talk about them with our patrons in the Discord, which you can access for as little as 20 or 25 cents an episode if you go to patreon.com/BSB. So we really appreciate all of our patrons who, of course, make the show possible. And that's why we
just pretend
we
like our Patreon is the sales tax on mtgband.com.
It's
the stick of gum in the cart, man. Like we're in the checkout aisle. Just add it to the cart while you're there getting mtgband.com. Use promo code BSB50 to get 50% off your first payment at Band. And that's including, you also get a 2-week free trial for Band. So you can sign up, see if you like it for 2 weeks. And then if 2 weeks later, you're like, you know what, I'm enjoying this, I will get a 50% discount on my first month just to really, really be sure you enjoy it. So, yeah, go to patreon.com/BSB and mtgband.com. That's where we make our money that we use to pay our editor.
It's true. Shout out to JJ, who's got a little bit of his work cut out for him this week. So, hey, shout out JJ. We appreciate all of the people who make this podcast possible do for us, including all of you listeners who, of course, the only reason it is possible. So, everybody, I think that probably wraps it up for us this week. I'm off in the middle of the ocean next week. It'll be DJ and Cass hanging out with you. Thanks for listening to Brainstorm Brewery.
I will be in Baltimore at the SCG Con this weekend. Feel free to stop by and say hello.